is going to be the easiest thing you can learn in this game, because it's the least complicated out of all of the complicated weapon sets. That's because there's only one thing to think about, and that's your sword. It does translate to everything. So if you pick up a red, if you pick up a sword and a shield, if you pick up a spear, all of that's going to kind of come off of this. So good foundations are going to be built out of this. We can start with grips. Does everybody know what a hammer grip is? You ever swung a hammer? You just crank it, smack it, right? Right. So
I'll crank it.
that's a little hefty. Not really that versatile. It's a very like, I'm only going to throw it one way. So we do what's called a saber grip, which is more like this, so almost like you're giving somebody a handshake when you're sitting your sword in. It gives you a little bit more length to your shot. So instead of throwing a shot that stops here, I'm going to throw a shot that stops a little further out. It's also one that gives you a little more flexibility.
I'll do a torch paddle. Yeah.
What you do with your
I'll set it up, don't worry
wrist
about it.
instead of a hammer, which is very much
Unless you want to record and I'll set it
stiff.
up.
If you can feel the difference in that.
Right here. I'll go for it, go for it.
If you are going
Let's
to
see
do
what you can
a
cook
saber
with.
grip, just be careful that you don't align your thumb along the back side of this, because you can hurt your thumb if you get a very hard strike here and it pushes your thumb backwards. So we like to do a side grip, which is a modified saber. Whatever is most comfortable for you is still going to be what you're going to probably use in the end, but this is just something to get you started. So on top of that, you've got stance. I know that doesn't have anything to do with your sword, but it does have to do with every aspect of fighting. So if you were to go get into a fighting stance, a lot of people are going to stand up like this, or some might just stand straight forward. What you want is a balanced stance, which is going to be one foot pointed towards your opponent and the other behind you at about a 45-degree angle, centered over top with a slight bend to your knees. Yeah, kind of like that. You're gonna straighten up a little bit more. So one forward, yep. And then you can, depending on the length of your legs, you might have a wider stance to feel comfortable. The main thing you want is you want to be able to lift up both your front and your back leg very easily, right? If you lean forward, you're stuck on this leg. You can't really pick it up very easily. So to back up, I'd have to push off to step back. Same thing if you're heavy over your back foot, right? I have to really lift to get off of that foot. But if I'm in a nice stable stance here, I can move back and forth, side to side, very quickly, right? With shoulders up. So it's going to be whatever your sword forward is, it's going to give you the best, because that's going to give you your length. If you put it in your offhand, you lose about your shoulder's width of distance, right? So if you're a lefty, just switch. Absolutely, yep. And so another thing that does is if you're lined up with your opponent, 10 foot forward, your torso naturally turns to the side, inflated, so you are a less wide target. Now that affects me a little bit more because I am wide all around. But you know, some of y'all disappear when you turn sideways, so that'll give you a little bit of an advantage. So if we've got our grip and our saber, and we've got our stance, right? The next thing is how to hit people, right? That's what we're here for, to hit people, right? So I guess let's.
You want to just like be a double form?
So we know what a chop is.
Like English?
Stances.
Yeah, you just chop, right? Just a straightforward shot, right? You can come from the side. Judo chop, right? No.
Keras.
Yeah, so a chop is just a straightforward throw. Okay?
Do you need a Pel?
Yeah, I could use a Pel. All right, I am Pel. This is my good friend Pel. No, this is Gimlish. So if I wanted to attack Gimlish, right, I'm going to set my
come
foot
in here.
forward so that I'm in line with him. Get into my stance, and I'm going to chop him in the shoulder. It's just a straight chop. It's a very quick. It's probably one of the fastest shots you're going to take, unless it's a stab. But right, you can throw that to the side, or you can throw it to this side. The main thing with a chop is that it is a single line, So if you throw this, you're not changing direction. It is perfectly straight. You can also do a slash, which is more of a follow through of a chop. So if I'm going to slash him, I'm going to come here, and instead of stopping at his blade, I'm going to pull it past so that I can potentially hit something else. If there's a shield here or something, I can come past him, and now I'm set up to do a follow-up shot. And then there's a wrap, and a wrap is to move around a target. So if he's got his sword in a guard there, and I want to get around it, a chop is not going to do it. I'm going to hit his hand every time. But if I want to throw a wrap, I just have to make it a triangle around his hand. So I can do that. That's a flat wrap because it's a shallower to the side shot.
Thank you.
You want to go grab a shield?
Here.
Sure. Yeah, there we go. Let's go to the other side so they can see. All right, so a flat wrap is going to be for working around that shield. So a chop, I'm not going to get over his shield, right? But a flat wrap, I'm going to turn my shot over, and I'm going to make a triangle to go around his shield. So it looks like that. And you can throw that from the top, from the side, or from the other side. And those are your three basic shots: chop, slash, and wrap. You can do a full wrap instead of a flat wrap, which is going to be more of an overhead, like to get behind somebody, and that's more kind of hooking around rather than slapping to the side. Shinzo, what was it that you said was a really clean way to talk about a flat wrap?
So for me, a flat wrap, it's just like a chop but sideways at an angle.
There you go, a chop but sideways. Yeah. So instead of chopping down, you're chopping to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. That's why I wanted to add it. Yeah. So, does anybody have any questions about those points? If you do, let me know. Absolutely. This is your time, not mine.
You have a shield,
Yeah.
so should your stance still be sword forward or shield forward when you have a
So-
shield?
That depends on what you want to do. So if you are sword foot forward, your sword is closer to the enemy. You're able to get that little bit of range. Okay. Hang on, go back. When you do this, this back hip is out of the way also, right? So it's harder to hit. But that exposes that hip right there. Okay. So when you put your sword forward, yes, you can attack better, but you are opening that side. Now, if you switch and you do shield forward, you're behind your shield more. You are more defensive. I can't touch back here anymore. But now this is more open down here, right? And this shoulder is closer to me. So there are trade-offs to each stance, right? When you're fighting somebody, pay attention to which direction their feet are, and you can tell a lot of what they're about to hit you with, or what you can hit. But that may be a little bit further along when you get to fighting. Right now, I've always tried the sword foot forward because it's my closest. It's easier to hit somebody to learn.
I will switch for document, but
Yeah. Okay, if you want to put the shield down. So single sword, which is kind of what we're starting with. See how he's got his guard very, very centered? That's fine, except, he's got to move to both sides to block, right? So he doesn't really have an idea of which side I'm going to attack because he's got both open. Lanes, that's what I forgot to mention. All right, so there are 6 lanes. You've got 3 on the side. You've got here, here, and here. And then you've got same on the other side, here, here, and here, right? So with those, with single sword, you want to try to be blocking one section to force their attack to another section. Because you want to not necessarily predict, but more guide your opponent to an area that you know an attack is going to come from. Because then you start setting the pace of the fight. So if I was going to fight Gimlish and I put my guard over here, I've just blocked off this quadrant. So what's he going to attack? He's going to attack my open side, right? So throw a shot. All right. So just the one. So here,
He's so fast.
I've now blocked it off, and I knew he was going to attack there, so my guard immediately moves, and then I just throw a shot in. Same thing for the other side. If I set up my guard here, and that translates to just about every other fighting, is if you block in a way that forces your opponent to attack your openings, you'll always know where they're going to attack. I say always, that's not true. The higher end that you get, the more that's going to not apply, because people will then know what you're doing and then force you to react to the way they want, and it gets complicated. But to start off with, this is the easiest way to kind of predict how your fight's going to go.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah, so we
No,
had a
it's fine.
question that was show the body mechanics of a proper wrap to not hurt yourself. So if y'all have ever done something where you fully extended your arm and you feel that tension here or maybe in here, that's not what we're looking for. With a wrap, you want to make sure that your arm is always in some form of a bend, not fully extended. And a wrap does not come from your wrist, right? Because your wrist is flimsy, and while you can throw that, you're more prone to injury. So the easiest way I've found to do a wrap is your arm stays in this position, right? And you just turn your whole arm over. So your elbow chicken wings, like think of it like this, right? That motion, and just further out, right? So if you want to, I guess, let's see. Yeah, if everybody wants to kind of do it real quick, and I'll just look around. Okay, so one thing I'm seeing is some of y'all are taking the tips and like trying to poke with the tip. You're really throwing it more from the arm so that the tip follows like a swing instead of a point, right? So instead of pointing, like just slap. Yeah, more like that. So that motion comes from the shoulder, it comes from the elbow, it can even come from the hips, right? If you want a little more power. So I'm gonna throw it first from just the elbow, which is just over. From the shoulder is there, and then the hips is throwing all of that. You can also throw it all the way from your leg, all the way up to the top. If you really want to crank somebody, are you ready? All right. And so you can then throw it like this.
Oh, fighting Drev again.
That pudding bruise.
Yeah.
Was that the pudding bruise?
arm?
It is.
Oh, sorry.
That was actually directly on the butt.
There's someone that hit
But,
him really
so-
hard at Orpoise.
We don't want to hit that hard. That's a little much, right?
It was, if I had shorter sleeves, I'd show you a hematoma that I currently have.
Yeah.
What attention to me then?
It's to show you that you can generate a lot of force without your arm if you do it from the rest of your body. So if you don't have the upper body strength to just power through a shot from the top, you can push it from your legs to throw it over. It's also beneficial for people who are trying to learn how everything flows together to not hurt themselves. Yeah, I think that's